I want to talk about lossless music streaming, something that's been hot in the news because Apple Music recently announced it would be adding lossless streaming to its platform as early as June. But what does it mean to you, the music listener? That's what I want to take the next few minutes to explain. So the idea of lossless digital music streaming really isn't that new. A number of streaming services have offered it for several years. The idea of lossless digital music playback is really old. The CD is a lossless format. It was introduced to the public in 1981 in Japan and made available for purchase in 1982. So we've had lossless digital music playback for roughly 40 years. So if this whole lossless thing really isn't that new, why is it a big deal now? It's because these big companies, Apple Music, Spotify, and others, have been streaming lossy music files to you. Now, to understand the difference between lossless and lossy, you got to understand things like bit depths and sampling frequencies, and that can get a bit cumbersome. But I'm going to use the CD as an example to kind of pare it all down to explain it to you. As I mentioned, CD's origins date back to the early 80s, and really its specifications haven't changed. It was defined then and remains today a 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz system. 44.1 kilohertz is 44,100 hertz. And what that means is every second of music is represented as 44,100 16-bit digital words. So if you multiply 16 for the 16-bit word length by 44,100 for the sampling frequency, by 2, because we have two channels, left and right, you come out to 1,411,200 bits per second, or 1,411 kilobits per second, which is what you'll often see advertised in lossless music streaming. What we have then are 1,411,200 bits coming down the pipe every second, internet or mobile service, just to play CD quality music. And that's quite a high data rate. And in fact, years ago it was a super high data rate that the systems could not handle. So what the streaming services did was rely on lossy compression schemes to reduce the data rate. But because they were lossy versus lossless, the data was reduced and the music quality was reduced. And the way I like to explain lossless versus lossy when it comes to compression is with a sheet of paper. Let's say this represents your entire music file. If we use a lossless system, we can get it roughly maybe to a half, and it all comes back exactly the same. But if we use a lossy system, we can get it much smaller. But what comes back isn't quite the same. On the lossless compression side, probably the most popular is FLAC. Depending where you look up the definition, will be free lossless audio codec or free lossless audio compression. I think it's codec. Regardless, it can bring file sizes down half to 2/3. So say on a CD stream, 1411 to 700 to 800 kilobits per second. A significant reduction. And remember though, it's lossless, so you get all of it back intact. On the lossy side, a lot more of a reduction. MP3 is the most popular. That's the one everybody's heard of. We're talking 320 kilobits per second, 256, 128, even 64 kilobits per second. Way, way smaller. So you can see why these streaming companies would want to resort to something like MP3, even if it came at a quality cost. With all that said about lossy and lossless compression schemes, first I want to say hopefully it shed just a little more light on the subject. But second, I want to point out that you can go on the internet and find people arguing all day long whether they can hear the difference between this lossy format and a lossless one. To all that, I'll just say this. We've had lossless digital music playback for almost 40 years through the CD. The reason we took a step back with these lossy compression schemes had to do with technical issues. Storage space, bandwidth, all that. For many people, these are largely things of the past. Why use lossy compression anymore? So whatever reason Apple had for getting on the lossless bandwagon with the other companies that were there before, I think it's a great thing for consumers, for audiophiles. I don't want to compromise. Do you? Thank you for watching.